Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, Farty, before I forget, I meant to tell you before we went live, but we're live now, so I guess I'll tell you and everyone at the same time. Starting next week, I'm going to be aiming for Friday night shows. This will be Saturday morning for you, Farty.
Okay.
Um, uh, Back like how we used to do it way back in the day, between 7, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, which would be, let's see, add 15 hours. Should be about 11 o'clock your time
Yeah.
in the morning. So, yeah, we'll be going back to that. The reason for that, and this is kind of big. Like I haven't really said anything about it up to this point, other than hey, I'm working on a fucking tabletop game, and I'm working on a role playing game to go with it. Well, I started a Patreon for it, and it's not huge, but there's enough people there with enough interest for me to do another podcast. And I can only really get other people in on it on Sunday nights, it looks like. Um, so we'll probably be doing that maybe once a month. But I want to switch over to doing the Friday night streams again, just for consistency's sake, you know. Like I don't want to go like, oh, is it this week? We can do the show this time this week, and I don't want to keep track of any of that bullshit. So, um, that's the big announcement. And if you're wondering about the Patreon, it's Grimlight District, patreon.com/Grimlight District. You can go there, check it out if you want. I post like story clips that I write for the setting. I've started as of today posting videos there that kind of like go with some of the story stuff. I put up the models that I make, like the little stupid robots that I've been putting together. Farty, I think you've seen them, right?
Mm.
So I've been putting those there. I'm putting a bunch of other stuff up there. So that's kind of the direction things are heading right now. Um, and if this stream ever gets noticed and picked up, well, then maybe, fuck, we'll do a Patreon for this one too. But I'm not entirely sure, so we'll just see where the dice land, and we'll just go back to doing Friday night, Saturday morning for you party streams.
Hey.
Yeah. So before we got on air, we were talking about soda, and Farty and I are both of the agreement, are both of the fact, or are both how do I say this? Farty and I both know for a fact that Pepsi is the superior soda brand.
Yeah, it's funnily enough, you can hardly fucking find it out here, which is fucking annoying as shit. Like, you get it at KFC, no problems, but fucking it's very selective where you can actually fucking get it. Like, you can get it from supermarkets and shit, but like the local servo where I get me coffee, they've got Pepsi Max, and that's about it. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, just normal bloody Pepsi.
Pepsi
But
Max is pretty good actually. If you've never tried it, it's pretty good.
I kind of like don't really like the light drinks and stuff because of Diet Coke. I just sort of
Right.
kind of see it
It
as like
doesn't.
watered down original.
Right. So at least for me, Pepsi Max doesn't taste like the diet crap. I think that it's a different formula. They use different spices and shit in it. And they use a little bit more caramel in it. And if it's not caramel, then they use some different chemical concoction bullshit, whatever. But it doesn't really taste like diet. So if someone offers you a can, try it out. I'm not saying go and buy a 2 liter or anything right away. Just try it out. Like I don't think it's bad. Which is funny because we can't really find Pepsi Max out here by me in the Midwest of the United States. However, we can find sugar-free Pepsi And yeah, it's got aspartame in it, but it's better than not being able to have soda at all anymore because I have diabetes. So I just kind of take that one on the chin.
It's got naked and I get diabetes. Sorry, I had to do that. Fucking.
Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it.
Well, it's
You're
fucking
good.
funny. Like, me brother used to be a rave DJ, and
right. Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, it's one event we went to in Crow's Nest, which is in North Sydney, and it was in this open air park, and fucking like Peter had brought his a lot of his fucking equipment there, like his speakers and amps and shit like that. And fucking the booth that he was like his gear was at that he actually did a set with was basically pointing right down the barrel of this fucking bowls club. And there's all these old farts fucking playing bowls, and then my brother gets on and he plays this track called "Fuck Off Cunt Face," and it was a very surreal situation because I knew what was coming, and it's like it sort of starts off with like just like a whole bunch of like samples coming together, and it's like just a bunch of cunts just fucking yelling and ranting raving. It's like, yeah, people pumping all this shit out at 1,000 miles an hour. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck off because I'm angry. Fuck you. And then there's like, fuck off, cunt face. Yes, it is actually. Fuck off, cunt face. Yes, it is actually. And it's like, just to watch the entirety of the fucking scene from afar because I knew what was coming. And you had the old school ravers that knew what it was, and they're just like the look of shock on their face. No, he's gonna do it. Oh my god, he's gonna do it. And then there's the new cunts who had never heard it before and like, oh my god, what the fuck is this? And then all the way up the back to all these old farts playing bowls going, oh my god, what the bloody hell is that? And I'm just pissing myself laughing. But there was this fucking Coke taste testing booth, right, and doing the blind taste test thing. Right. And this cunt got the fucking shits because I was going there every 5 minutes and consistently picking Pepsi out from the Coke. And I was saying, like, I prefer this one and that's Pepsi. And he goes, fucking how do you know that? And it's like, just fucking, I don't know, clairvoyant or something like that. But you can actually tell the difference because Pepsi does have a slightly drier aftertaste than what Coke does.
It does. And it's got a little bit more of a pepper. Like I want to call it like a little bit of a peppery bite to it more than Coca-Cola does. And Coca-Cola kind of just tastes like caramel.
I don't know what they've done to it lately, but fucking Coke out here just tastes like fucking fizzy water. There's hardly any sweetness to it anymore.
Well, isn't that what isn't that what the Brits call soda? Fizzy water?
That's soda water. But like, you know, it's sort of kind of like you ever go to like Macca's or fucking Burger King or something like that, and you get you get it from the fountain, and it's like right at the end of the bag where the fucking syrup is like not, you know, not in the right consistency, and you get mostly the fucking carbonated water and just a little bit of Coke in it. Yeah, it kind of tastes a bit like that.
Yeah, then no, I agree with you entirely on that one. That's bad. That's bad juju right there.
But Macca's Coke has always been the fucking maddest fucking cure for a hangover for some reason. Don't know why.
It's probably because of all the sugar concentrated in it. Like McDonald's is under strict orders from Pepsi, believe it or not, to increase the amount of syrup to water that they put in the line.
Well, they actually have this special fucking whole contraption that Coke actually gives them, and it's like the Macca's can't touch it. It's specifically like with the fucking ice cream machines, I guess.
Yeah, it's already it's pre-set up, and if they fuck with it, they're out of luck.
Yeah, pretty much, and yeah.
But in some establishments, Pepsi tells them this is like if you go to a bar here in the States, Pepsi will literally tell them this is the correct mix ratio, and they do put slightly more syrup into the line to nearly the point that it's too much syrup and it clogs the lines. So they always have to fucking send someone out to fix it.
Wondering if that's to take into consideration of the ice.
Yes, but also Pepsi knows that the increased flavor um, is the hook, right? Like all that caffeine and all that sugar and shit lights up your brain. It does weird things to your brain chemicals, and your brain is like, give me more of that, please. And as evil a company as Pepsi is, you know what? Fuck it. They could literally slaughter babies and eat them right in front of me, and I would still buy fucking Pepsi products. I would still buy a can of Pepsi.
They kind of fucking did do that.
But okay, listen. I'm making a point here, Farty.
Well, you go into the history of Pepsi, right? And it's like
Right.
it's funny as fuck. Like the Fat Electrician did it, and there's a couple of others that have done sort of comical fucking takes on Pepsi's history. And there's like the main one where fucking there was like a World's Fair and Nikita Khrushchev showed up, and the rep from Pepsi said, "Here, try one of these." He goes, das is good. Bring over big piles of Pepsi. And then because the ruble was fucking pretty much a pariah on the fucking global market, it was worthless. And then they ended up getting
Right.
like fucking the second largest navy on the bloody planet off the Russians, which was like, in reality, it's all just scrap metal. They were demilitarized ships and outdated fucking vessels and stuff. They like weren't actual functional naval vessels.
Right.
And it was just for scrap value. But fact of the matter is that, yeah, Pepsi at one point had like the second largest navy on the planet.
Yeah.
And
that's wild to me that a soda company had a navy, and that's only because they basically traded soda for for arms.
Well, their military fuck ups don't end there, because I even remember this ad campaign. Like, it was back in I think it was the late '80s, where they were having this giveaway thing, and they'd fucked up on the marketing and didn't put down, like, for illustration purposes only, not an actual prize, but they were advertising that you could win a Harrier jump jet. And
I remember that. Yeah. And the guy saved up all these fucking points, and he went to cash them in, and Pepsi was like,
no, we weren't actually going to give a Harrier, man. Like, what drugs are you on? And he's like, no, but you said in the advertising, false advertising, and then they had to re-release the ads, like, not an actual prize at the bottom.
They did, but in the end, the court found that Pepsi was legally responsible for handing the guy keys to a Harrier jet. So what they did was they handed him a busted one.
So I thought they just paid him out the equivalent.
No, they gave him a Harrier jet, but it was all busted to shit. It was non-functional. The engines were all fucked. The cockpit was all fucked. Like, all the instruments had been literally ripped out of the thing, and not.
They'd have to demill it.
Well, it wasn't even about it wasn't even about like decommissioning it. They like the instruments, right? Like your altitude, your horizon line, and all that shit. They ripped all of it out. They were talking of there was this big documentary on it, and the guy that was talking about it was telling how, like, all the bolt holes were stripped in the cockpit. There was no seat, there was no yoke, there was no throttle body, there was no nothing. It was missing the control surfaces. It was missing. It had the engine in it, but it was missing the afterburners, which I don't know. Oh no, it didn't. Right? Yeah, they had the fucking
Rolls-Royce Pegasus engine, which isn't. It's an axial flow engine, but it's weird because it doesn't actually have an axial flow. It's got this weird fucking setup where it splits the thrust out to four different places. Is the forward thrusters basically run off the first stage compressors, and then the rear lot of the thrusters work at the
that's what it was.
engine after
it was
the ignition.
The compressors that were missing out of the thing.
Yeah, no, well,
'Cause
they would have to take out fucking shit like the radar,
well, yeah, the radar is a
fucking,
given.
because that's like in a lot of occasions, like radar systems are actually still sort of like secret
Right.
technology. There's
Right.
like stuff that we don't really want every country to know about. Any other kinds of like advanced targeting systems that would have been on board and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
They would have taken the guns out, the ejection seat, because it's a rocket and it's a pyrotechnic and shit like that. They'd have to take that
Yeah.
out. It's technically it's a bomb. Yeah, a few other bits and bobs like radar warning
Yeah.
receivers and shit. But your instruments and all that kind of stuff, you'd probably find it came from the boneyard, and they were just pulling bits out to put on other Harriers.
Probably, yeah. So, like I said, they had literally stripped this thing to the point where, like, it was as good as scrap metal. They just handed Pepsi handed it over to them because they were legally required to. The guy ended up spending like more money in the end because what he did was he started a business, if I remember correctly. He like took out a small business loan, and then because the bank needed a business to hmm, put that small business loan to him, um, he started this business and I'm burping a lot because I just drank some soda. Goddamn Pepsi. But he started a business and like he started paying people out of pocket for like their Pepsi codes or whatever the fuck it was to
Yeah,
like be able for the Pepsi points. That's what it was. He was paying them for like their bottle caps and everything. And in the end, he spent like hundreds of millions of dollars that would have grossed about what the Harrier cost at the time. And then he spent another hundreds of millions of dollars restoring the thing because you can't have a flight worthy vehicle without going through the FAA because there are specific things the FAA requires and there are specific components that you have to put into a specific aircraft as per FAA regulations. So this guy like spent double what the prize was in the end because he wanted the Harrier jet. He wanted it functional, and he put it back together. But it cost a lot of fucking money because like all of the rivets in like that was another problem is that some of the rivets holding some of the body panels were like kind of not all there and they were like hanging off and like all the wiring was gone and that needed to be redone and all of the electronics needed to be done and everything that he could legally put into a civilian owned aircraft he needed to do. Plus he needed to rent or buy, I don't remember what it was. I don't know if he rented a hangar or if he bought a hangar. But he needed a hangar somewhere, so he needed to pay for that. The story on it is fucking it's wild, dude.
so here's a side note on the Harrier, which is just a little funny quirk of I think of it anyway. The Rolls-Royce Pegasus engines, the actual exhaust ports on it is called well. And this is what shits me about fucking YouTube and fucking cunts nowadays who fucking want to narrate fucking videos but can't fucking like they're bloody Western people and they can't speak fucking English properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard it referred to recently by young dumb cunts as a plenum chamber, but it's actually called a plenum chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the exhausts are called, plenum chambers. And I always thought that the fucking word plenum sounded a bit fucking dirty, like it was like some medical term for something fucking with your genitals or something like that. You know, oh, you got to go massage your
Party, are
plenum.
you pleaming in there?
Yeah, yeah. If you want to ejaculate harder, you got to masturbate or you got to massage your plenum or something like that. But the
Remember to
closest
stick
thing
a
that
finger in there.
yeah, the closest thing that fucking the Harrier came to an afterburner was the forward plenum chambers. Was they were going to have sort of kind of like an afterburner ring inside of them, where it was they called it plenum chamber burning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, another thing that Pepsi did, and this is where they actually got fucking people killed, was I think it was in the Philippines.
Yeah,
They had a
yeah,
they
they
had a
ran a big.
competition. Yeah, and
They
they
ran a
fucked up,
big.
printed like 1,000 of the winning numbers, and like fucking, they were just like, oh shit, if we have to pay these cunts out, it's more than the GDP of like fucking half the countries on the planet. Fuck. And cunts were killing each other over the fucking prizes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It was great. Like, I mean, great in the sense of like storytelling,
Mm,
because like, how can you make some shit up like that? Like, it's just corporate dumbassery at its finest, right there. I think, and
yeah,
like these companies are like they're run by people, and these people only think in terms of how they can get more money out of something, and half the time they do it at the expense of their consumer base, right? They do it at the
yeah,
expense of their consumers, and I think one thing that Pepsi learned a long time ago, that they haven't done to this day, because there hasn't been a major. Let's put all our cards on the table. There hasn't been a major Pepsi scandal in the last 50 years. There have been several Coke scandals in the
mm,
last 50 years that have been really fucking major. 40 years ago, we were talking about this before we started the stream, right? 40 years ago, new Coke. What was it? What was another one? 2012, they had a big one too. And then as recently as like 5 years ago, they did that super woke ad, and people were just like leaving Coca-Cola in droves. Actually, no, I think that was Pepsi. Actually, no, they both did it, didn't they?
I can't remember. I haven't seen fucking ads in years. But we had a
It
big
had one of
thing
those
out here.
Kardashian fucking
Oh no, yeah,
words
no,
in it.
yeah. That was, yeah,
Was
the
it?
BLM riots, and she walks
Was
up to
it?
the right coppers and gives a fucking Pepsi to a right copper or something
That
like
was
that.
a
And
Pepsi. It was either a
yeah,
Pepsi or a Coke. I don't remember,
it
but
was
I
Pepsi.
like giving
Yeah,
a cop a can of soda, and
it
like
was.
how insensitive fucking are you? They're there to like defend the peace, and you're just like, yeah, here's a soda can. We're throwing bricks at shit, but here's a soda can.
It was more the audacity of like fucking painting that fucking, I think it was Khloe Kardashian or something like that, fucking, as
Yeah,
being like the
I would
savior, and
say
like she's gonna create peace and love with just handing everyone a Pepsi and shit. It's like, oh, go get fucked. You're a fucking nobody. Piss off, you bimbo.
right. I would say that commercial was really more a Kardashian fuck up than a Pepsi fuck up. Pepsi
Yeah,
was just like kind of
it was them licking their own minge. That's all it was.
yeah. Pepsi was like, fuck, we fucked up. And what did they do when they fucked up? They didn't walk it back. They didn't try to go, we're sorry, guys, okay? Look at us bending over for you. We're sorry. And I kind of don't like it when a company goes, oh, we're sorry. Because then
Mm.
you get shit like fucking BP, right? What happened with BP? They drilled, and they got that massive fucking oil thing, right? That massive fucking oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf of America, as we're calling it now. Whether or not the name change is official, but
Mm.
the name change, as an aside, the name change is a means of sidestepping Biden's no drilling for oil in the Gulf
Yeah,
of Mexico. But at any rate, you got BP who fucked the Gulf of Mexico like completely and utterly, right? And then like it seemed like the very next week they did something else that was just as big a fuck up as the last week,
well,
and it
Coke.
went on for months.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then they kept
Yeah.
apologizing for it, and they kept, we're doing better. And Pepsi was just like, they just put their heads down and went back to work. They're like, fuck this. And I kind of, and it's like it was like that with No Man's Sky, right? Like the game came out, and it was not great. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a quick little, for me when it first came out in like 2016 or whatever it was. It was like It was just the fun little get into your spaceship, fly around, and progress the story. And that was what it was for me, and I enjoyed it when it came out. I get why people were pissed about it. I get why people were angry about it. But people got pissed, and what did Hello Games do? They apologized and they went back to work. And now the game is in a better state than it's ever been in. And it's getting fucking and it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, well, one thing with BP is sort of kind of like the ultimate fucking case of throwing our shit at the wall and see what fucking works. Because at first they tried the line cutter at the bottom of the fucking pipe, that didn't work. And then they're like, all right, we'll pump a fucking bunch of concrete down, that didn't work. All right, we're gonna fucking send golf balls down. I was like, what the fuck? And they're like,
golf
that
balls
doesn't
float,
work.
you dickhead.
We're just going to go to the garbage tip and just grab any old random fucking trash and fucking chuck that at it and see if it fucking works. Like, do you cunts even know what you're fucking doing or what?
You know what the funniest part of it in the end was? They lowered down a shit ton of kitty litter and boom.
Yeah.
And that cleaned it up. And they were like, quote unquote, going to pay people for submitting their ideas and like solving this massive engineering problem. And I was one of the people who like submitted an idea, and I'm like, here's what you need, here's how you need to deploy it, and here are the safety concerns that you need to watch out for while doing all of this. Because you got to remember, like, my background is hobbyist engineering. I like hobbyist engineering. Some of it is experience. Like I know for a fact, Barty, you had to clean up at least one oil spill, at least working in the military, right? No. Like at least one. No. Just like a little minor, like, oh shit, someone's truck fucking started leaking oil all over the place.
No.
Never? Not even in First Fleet?
Nah.
Wow.
No major oil
I had to do that shit.
Fucking, yeah, like, I've been pretty lucky with hazmat and shit like that and oil spills.
I've had to do that shit, like, basically all my life, doing all that fucking grunt work. Cleaning up oil.
Fuel leaks and diesel spills, but that's only like, fucking half a bag of fucking sawdust, and that's about it. There's like nothing.
Well,
really
that's what I mean. Is like something like that.
Yeah.
But you know that it takes a certain it takes a certain process to do things. And I shot them an outline of everything you needed to do, all of this, that, and the other thing. I guess a bunch of other people had the same ideas. They emailed me back, said, we've already looked into the feasibility of this and we can't do any of it. I didn't respond back. I didn't reply back. But that's fucking, that was BP going, we're not paying anyone. We're going to get these ideas. We're gonna tell people there's a bounty for ideas, and then we're gonna fucking just use the idea without giving any motherfucker money.
Yeah, and who's to fucking say that your idea comes up and they choose it, and then they fucking go, oh yeah, we had a whole bunch of people suggest the same thing, but the first one was one of our employees, Mr. John Random Guy. So he's gonna get the prize, and of course John Random Guy doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah. Well, he does on paper, but yeah. But lo and behold, a week later, they're putting into action the exact fucking step-by-step procedure I gave them. You lay down your boom first, and then you kind of close in the fucking oil, the oil spill, because oil wants to rise. Even in salt water, it still wants to rise a little bit. Some of it will be broken down and mixed with the tides a little bit, but for the most part it's going to stay all condensed and everything. And then you lower in fucking cat litter or something akin to cat litter, because it's got a high absorption rate, right? It can suck up all the water, but then that water will get displaced by the fucking oil. And so you do all this, you do the sawdust type deal is the same deal as, like, it'll suck up the oil, and then and then to dispose of it, well, there are many options. One of the best one to do it would be probably be incineration, but that's the bugbear of like disposing of oils and shit is getting rid of it, and fucking making sure the carbon burn off doesn't like go everywhere. So you gotta fucking account for that too. But lo and
Incineration.
behold, huh?
Incineration.
Yeah,
You burn it so hot that even the carbon particles burns, where you get
right,
like clear smokeless flames.
right. And that's kind of like what I mentioned is that you just dispose of it by incinerating it. Like
Yeah.
at a certain point, carbon even breaks down in heat. But lo and behold, I gave them the whole step by step procedure, and a week later they're using it. Um,
Yeah, well, getting back to the sodas, Coke had a big controversy out here because they had this gigantic fucking tax break in regards to water usage.
uh,
And this was in the middle of like while we were having a drought and there were water restrictions and all this kind of stuff. And then it came out that Coke was actually paying like 1 cent per gigaliter. That was the tax break.
how? How do you get away with using that much fucking water? And that's Australian money too. That's basically nothing in
Mm,
reality.
yeah, yeah. Well, they claim that fucking because the water is the large component of their product, and it's a business expense and all this kind of stuff, that they should be able to claim it all back as a tax write off. So effectively, like, yeah, it was
They're
like 1 cent
operating for
per gigaliter.
free. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're basically operating for free in Australia.
yeah.
Man, your guys' laws suck. Dude, Farty, you need to move here to the States. It sucks about as much, but we don't have the blue hairs running completely everything just yet. So,
Mm. Yeah, well, bloody yeah, and then people wonder why fucking poor fucking smokers have to offset everybody else's fucking bloody tax write offs.
yeah, you don't have to
Fucking
do that here in the States.
mm-mm.
Although public smoking is banned in a lot of areas, so I guess that wouldn't change too much from what your current situation is now.
Yeah, it's really annoying because when I started working, you're allowed to fucking go up the pub for lunch for a couple of beers and shit and smoke in the workplace and all this kind of stuff. Now
Mm-hmm.
you can't even do that. It's like, oh, what the fuck? I can't work under the influence of alcohol anymore, you motherfuckers. Which is really
No
funny too,
fun.
considering that during the Cold War, we were all fucking drunk, and it's lucky we're all still here.
um. So yeah. Just to let everyone know, I did all that burping and shit earlier because I had just popped open a can of Pepsi. So there, there's your shell, Pepsi. Where's our money?
Fucking
I
MC
would like.
Hammer.
Oh
MC Hammer
Christ!
did a Pepsi commercial fucking ages ago.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And like he's singing on stage, and all of a sudden his voice goes a bit hoarse, and then some guy in the crowd fucking reaches out with a can of Pepsi, and goes, Hammer! And he grabs it and takes a big Pepsi. Boom, 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 boom. You know, fucking then goes back to dancing and shit. And
Yeah.
when I was in primary school, fucking, we had to do a language class, and
Oh
it was either
no.
French or Italian. And it's like, I'm not even going to go anywhere near either of those two fucking countries. So why the fuck do I need to learn any of this shit? You got to
uh,
pick one. All right, fine, Italian. And I'll get onto this in a sec, but the Italian teacher fucking played us the Italian version of that ad, and it's even funnier because it's dubbed. And so when it comes up to the part where his voice goes hoarse, the
Beavis.
guy reaches up and he goes, Hammer! And he goes, clock, 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 Piapa! And it's like this really weird voice. It's not even fucking MC Hammer's voice. And he's, we were fucking laughing our asses off at that. But I picked Italian for one very, very specific reason. And everybody wondered why, like, hang on a minute, you don't like Italian, but you fucking seem very, very interested in getting fucking help with the teacher. And that was because the teacher was this very, very pretty young lady who fucking had gigantic fucking tits and liked to wear low crop tops.
Of
And when you came
course,
up and
Party
asked
the
her for help,
Gooner.
She just fucking bends straight over the fucking table with her fucking top hanging down, boob sagging everywhere, and you can just look straight down her fucking shirt. And there's this other kid in my class called Khan Kamal, and he asked me that one day, and I said, look, just go ask for help, and while she's too busy looking at the page, have a look at her and see what you say. Like, tell me what you see. And he's come back with like, I see what you mean. So now both me and him, we're like, yes, we're really attentive. Like, what's this word, miss? It was fucking every fucking class was just fucking perving down her fucking shirt. It was funny as fuck. And no cunt fucking realised it. I think she fucking knew what she was doing too, but.
Well, yeah, because like kids really only learn. And this is a little side quest here, I guess. Kids only really learn when they're engaged, and if flashing a little bit of skin is going to engage the children, then especially male children, especially because as males we have a tendency to drift, shall we say, right? Like I can't be the only one. We get bored easy.
I never learned a lick of fucking Italian, but I know exactly what her tits look like.
I can count the speckles on them, damn it.
I can even tell you exactly the course of the veins in her tits right now. I remembered them from memory.
She's probably in her 20s then. She's probably like 90 now.
Yeah, she would have hit the wall fucking decades ago. That's if she hasn't gone to jail for fucking
students. You know what has stopped her from hitting that wall so hard?
What?
Those fun bags in her sweater. Oh Christ, man, we're gonna get so fucking canceled for all of this.
It's really funny too because, like, you know, bloody. I always saw that like female teachers rooting their male students is sort of kind of like, yeah, fucking. Well, there's no real big deal about that, and realistically, the only people that have a fucking problem with it is the parents, like the fathers in particular. Is like, but hang on, my son's getting more pussy than me. What the fuck? And I actually wanted to fuck the teacher myself. It's like, I really don't see the fucking kids complaining, but like sort of nowadays with them woke, you know, it's probably because the bloody kids are like, I identify as a girl or some fucking shit like that. No, I didn't want a lesbian relationship. Yeah.
The problem though is that it's still on some level psychologically scarring to the kids. On some level. Now I'm not going to pontificate how deeply it is, and I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say that it should be done, because I don't think it should. Personally, me having been through something similar, in my youth, I don't. I'm trying to phrase this correctly so that no one can take me out of context when I say it. Okay, I'll say it as plainly as I can. I still believe that it is at the very least statutory rape. I believe that if we're going to hold men to the same, if we're going to hold men who, male teachers who get 12-year-old girls to sleep with them, then females who get 12-year-old boys to sleep with them should be charged equally. That's my stance on it. Even if there is some component of consent there, who's to say it's not coercion instead of consent? Because as a kid, you're dumb as shit, right? Like, I was told I was very intelligent growing up. I'm still told to this day that I'm a very intelligent human being. But here's the thing about intelligence. Even Albert Einstein was dumb enough to bring a fucking bottle of highly explosive nitroglycerin that was enough to put a hole in the fucking train bridge brought a bottle of the shit onto a train. And trains back in the late 1800s, early 1900s weren't exactly known for having the best suspension. And that bottle of nitro could have fallen over at any fucking time if placed incorrectly. So I guess what I'm saying is even the smartest of us, even the most intelligent of us, do some of the dumbest shit there is.
Well, it's
Like the US.
funny you mention Albert Einstein, right? Is
Yeah.
when you look at it, he wasn't that fucking brilliant. When he was kind of like, oh, the sound barrier is something that we can never break, and if we detonated a nuclear weapon, it'd set fire to the atmosphere and destroy the entire planet. Yeah, right, dickhead.
Well, it might have incinerated the entire planet when the oxygen levels were a lot higher than they are now.
Yeah. Oh, possibly, yeah. But not the way we were doing it. We were going to do it. And he also says that light
Yeah.
travel's impossible, which I'm saying that we just don't have the fucking correct spectral and analytical equipment to fucking detect it yet. But that's also something in astronomy where they reckon there was something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they detected particles moving away from this object, fucking moving faster than the speed of light. But then there was like, but it can't go faster than the speed of light. So here's this long-winded fucking bullshittium fucking explanation on how it's not actually faster than the speed of light when clearly you fucking said it was.
The thing about that is they're learning that teleportation exists. And teleportation is just when two atoms swap places. So now it's just a matter of time of figuring out how to make two atoms swap places. And if we can do that forcibly, then we can scale it up and we can do 10 atoms, 1,000 atoms. The energy cost would be the same regardless of whether it's one atom or trillions upon trillions of atoms that make up, say, a human being, right?
Yeah, that all comes under the theory of quantum positioning.
Right. But as I know it, the cosmic speed limit is the speed of light. Now, that's not to say we can't accelerate something to the speed of light, because there is math that says otherwise, but that's because like Einstein's knowledge was so finite. He's a very brilliant guy, and he wrote off a lot of his equations because he couldn't account for the other stuff that was like beyond the scope of his knowledge. It's the same with Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton knew certain things, and he had all of these things in mind, but he himself was limited by a certain amount of knowledge that goes, this is where my knowledge ends. Now, the difference between Newton and Einstein was that Newton knew when to say, my math explains all of these things except for the things past this line here. And I kind of get lost in that. I don't know what this is. Einstein had the audacity to go, oh, well, if these things are happening after this line, well, that must mean I got the math wrong somewhere. So, I don't have to pay attention to that anymore because I got the math wrong somewhere. But the math that does check out is within whatever this scope is. And that's the way I understand it. And I don't know if I'm explaining that in a way that's like comes across or like people can understand, but that's just the way that that I understand the whole thing behind Einstein and his bullshit was. But yeah.
It's funny with Newtonian physics and stuff like that. Truthers used to throw at me fucking Newton's third law. This disproves the fucking. It's like, okay, explain to me, dickhead. How does Newton's cradle disprove Newton's third law?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Newton's cradle slows down and eventually comes to a stop, so that just proves that every action isn't in fact equal and opposite.
Well, it is to the extent of entropy. See, Newton's cradle takes into account entropy,
Yeah.
um, but Newton's third law doesn't really take into account entropy because Newton didn't he didn't account for entropy. He didn't understand entropy
Mm.
because in his mind, like he was a religious guy, right? So like in his mind, what he didn't understand, he said something to the extent of, "Well, I don't understand this, but God does," and I
Yeah,
think there's
step
something
one,
poetic about it.
blah. Step three, blah. Conclusion, in the middle, magic.
um, but I think there's something poetic about that. I think there's something poetic about going, I don't understand this. There's something else happening that I can't quite grasp.
Mm. Yeah, well,
And
that's the difference between science and religion. Like, anything that you
yeah,
can't understand attributes to God. Anything in science you can't understand, we just haven't figured it out yet.
right. But Newton did both because he was a religious man, but he was also uh, like he was also very about the science of things, right? He was very about the way the mathematics of certain things worked out to explain the universe and natural law around him. And when his knowledge failed him, he goes, "Well, I don't understand this, so I'll just leave it to God to know what this is." And there's
Yep.
something poetic about that. I'm not a religious person, but I think there's something profound and poetic about that. Something
Yeah,
beautiful in that.
that's kind of where I don't like. I've never gotten about religious physicists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can explain everything away and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you can explain most things away in physics, and you know that everything else is just a factor of fucking. We just got to figure it out. But then you
Right.
still believe in God. The fuck?
Well, I think the idea is um, we can't know for certain that God doesn't exist. There's no law that proves or disproves that a God exists. And if natural law is the how, what's the why? Why does everything work the way it does? And I think that's the angle that they take. Now, I'm not saying I'm a religious person myself. Um, I'm just saying that that's probably, if I were in that position, that would be the position I would take. Is this is the how? What's the why? Does that make any sense to you, Farty?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Oh,
I kind of lost myself there for a second.
it's basic. It's the basic premise of science. Like,
Mhm.
here is an outcome. Okay, so what's the mechanics of it, and then you go back and find it. Which brings me on to something else in regards to that. I found a new thing that's my new favorite thing in the universe, and I'm calling it galactic archaeology. Um, so I can't remember how long it was ago. I think it was only about a year ago. There was a binary asteroid, Dimorphos and Didymus, and they crashed a small satellite into the smaller one of them. I think it's called Didymus, and just to see if they could change its trajectory.
Mhm.
And we only just got the footage back from the mothership satellite that they sent out.
Right.
The sort of past the collision as it happened, kind of thing, and they kind of slightly fucked up and missed the actual impact point. But the regolith that came off it actually had very very distinct sort of trails, and
Right.
in zero G, it wasn't sort of kind of like projected off like an explosion that you have on Earth. It was more sort of like if you rewound it back, you could quite possibly, by the particle, fucking figure out exactly where everything was in order of its being dislodged.
Right.
So in theory, you could fucking start detecting particles or clumps of particles and stuff like that rewind their trajectory, and this is in conjunction with the Rubin Observatory that's just been opened, which in the next was it 3 to 5 years or so, every 3
Right.
nights it completes a full scan of the particular part of the sky, and this is how we found Three Eye Atlas. Um, and basically, like by scanning this one particular part of the sky over and over and over again for the next 5 or so years, they're basically getting the equivalent of, say, Hubble fucking looking at this one particular piece of sky for the equivalent amount of
Right.
time.
Yeah.
But instead of it just being one little tiny focal point, it's a gigantic chunk of the sky. So you could possibly fucking find a body that, if you rewound its trajectory, would meet up with this other particular particle, and you could trace other particles back and basically rewind an explosion.
Right.
Fucking fascinating.
Oh yeah. I'm right there with you. Like I said, that all explains how. What explains the why though?
Oh well, then you'd be able to find like the object that collided with it and all this from that as well. But it's the
Well, you're still
actual.
on the how. You're on the how and the what.
Mm,
We need the why, the when, the where.
well, two things collided with each other. They're converging trajectories.
Right, but why? Why? Okay, why did those two things collide? And what set the what set in motion the events that that would have to have lined up for those things to uh, collide with each other? And I know that we saw the asteroid. We wanted to see if we could deflect it. I get that. That's still the what.
Well, the why would be, why is that particle there, and why is it, you know, detached from its original body? That
Right.
there will be a point where we will just lose information. Like say with Three
Oh yeah,
Eye
for
Atlas,
sure.
that came from outside of the solar system. So there'll be a point where,
For sure.
okay, we could say that, like, well, from what we can determine, it came from this direction, which, if we assumed, several hundred light years or something like that, came from this galaxy cluster and all that, and that's about where we'd lose the track of it.
Right.
Um, but fucking the actual sort of like, oh, well, this particle around that black hole, well, that come from this body here, and that's, fucking,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
It's entirely space in and of itself is entirely fascinating, and I don't
mm,
think in the whole of history that humankind has left, I don't think we're ever going to figure it out. I don't think we'll ever figure it all out.
Personally, I reckon we've been around the block a couple of times, at
Mm,
least, and we get to a point of technological hubris where we just go and fucking wipe ourselves out, at least to like the point of caveman technology, where like there might
but we're
be
on the brink
initially
of
some.
doing it now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll get to a point where fucking, with initially after the event, the near extinction event, we'll still have people who know how to do shit, like say
Right.
people like you and me. Like, we've got a fair amount of knowledge on, how modern world works. But like, if we were set back to a caveman era, we definitely wouldn't be able to make an integrated circuit or something like that. It'd still be like thousands of years before fucking we get to the technology of lathes and fucking industrial
Mm,
fucking industrial
if it's
standards, like, with
if
screws
it's
and shit
just to
like that.
get to that, I think if you and I survived, right, and other people like us survived,
Mm.
um, I don't think it'd take that long for us to get back to where it is, especially if we have books, right? If
Well,
we still had,
this is part of the reason why I say that, because you just have a look at the last 150 years. We went from sailing ships
yeah,
made out of wood and sail for fucking 500 fucking years to, all right, now we've invented the steam engine and steel ships, and then fucking the turbine engine, and then fucking, bloody
yeah,
bulbous bows and things like that. And then, like, in a short period of time, some cunts flying a powered kite. And then in a short period of time from that, we go from wood and fabric airplanes to fucking steel aircraft with fucking,
yeah,
you know, powerful piston engines. And then in a very, very short time from that, literally, it's only about 5 years, because we went into World War II with fucking still canvas covered fucking wooden aircraft, biplanes
yeah,
in some cases. Then we end up with jet aircraft. And then
by the end of the war, that was what, 5 years when the United States had entered the war, and then the war was over within 5 years, the U.S. stepping in.
Yep.
And then World War One raged for like what, 10, 15 years?
No, that was another. It was only like 4 years, 1914, 1918.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Oh no, yeah. So World War One was like 10 years before we stepped in, wasn't it?
No. Yeah, you guys came in like right at the last like year or so.
Okay, yeah. Why am I? Oh, because fucking between Desert Storm and Enduring Freedom, that was like a 15-year gap.
About that, it was 91 to like 2003.
That's probably what I'm thinking, because like that went on since like basically the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, we went from the Cold War nearly nuking ourselves to running around hunting terrorists. Fucking
back and then, to nearly nuking ourselves.
Yeah, that too. Like, we go from nearly nuking ourselves in a large scale, massive fucking war kind of situation to bloody patrolling a joint and maybe shooting a few rounds at a fucking goat herder with a fucking AK-47. Now we're back into the prospects of going into a global war kind of situation, the shit that I was being trained for back in the day. And now you got all these GWAT monkeys who think that they're all that in a bag of chips because they went to a combat zone. Now they're off in fucking Ukraine getting themselves shelled the fucking fuck, and they're wondering why fucking, hang on, how come, this is so different from us? Is it because this is like World War One kind of shit, guys? Fucking completely different fucking animal to what you got trained for. So like just we went from having jet aircraft to not fucking really 20 years later, we're on the fucking moon.
Yeah.
And exponential increase in technology is sort of kind of like, how the fucking hell did it accelerate that bloody fast? Like,
well,
I reckon.
Like I said, if I survive a nuclear holocaust, right, and I decide to go down to Australia, I'm like, hey, Farty, you're still around? Cool. Hey, we're gonna make a really shitty lathe out of wood, and we're gonna go mine some copper. In about a year or so, we'll have some copper filament. Because we'll be able to use this lathe to chip away at the stone, and we'll be able to use smelting techniques to refine it a little bit to get it to good enough to create a generator with, and then we'll go stick that generator on a fucking paddle wheel, and that paddle wheel will be stuck in a fucking river or something, and then we'll generate electricity with that, and then we'll figure out we'll have to do hardwired circuits instead of circuit boards until someone can figure out how to do the manufacturing of silicon chips and shit. And I think in about 50 years, we could be back to where we were.
See, I know kind of how to do it. There's all the intricacies and all that kind of stuff. So like the process of okay, so you find the copper ore and all this kind of shit, and then you got to separate it, and then that gets into chemistry, which I'm not entirely too up about. So then we'd have to
the big produce thing is acids a lot of heat.
Produce acids and stuff like that to help fucking bloody dissolve other fucking impurities out of it, and then there's a refining process, which obviously I know that has to happen, but I'm not entirely sure exactly what the process of that is to actually get the refined copper out of it. And then
it's
like forming and extruding is pretty fucking basic, but then we'd have to make the machinery to do that, and in that case we'd have to make steel, and then fucking I know the process of doing that, but fucking actually making a smelter and all this kind of shit. Well, I suppose the fucking the old school Japanese way where they used to make the fucking was a tamahagani steel, where the fucking it's just this big fucking trench that they just chuck a bunch of iron ore in, pile on a bunch of fucking coal, and leave it there for a fucking few days to fucking burn away and all that kind of shit.
Yeah. They would do that with meteorites, especially. Meteorite steel was huge in Japan because Japan during the time of I think the 16 to the 1800s was very mineral rich in terms of meteorites.
Oh, well, here in Australia, we were really lucky. You just have to go up to the Kimberleys and basically put a shovel to the ground and, like, because that's how fucking rich the iron ore is up in the Kimberleys. It's like 40% of the world's fucking iron ore deposits.
Right. But
Um,
yeah,
and
copper filament would be relatively easy. Take a stick, melt down the copper, clean out all the slag that's in there. You know, a lot of heat to get the rocks to melt down, and anything that floats to the top, you know, under those conditions, is not copper. And you just leave it to boil a little bit longer, and then you scrape out all the shit. You take a stick, dig a line in the sand, and here you go. You've got,
uh,
you know, a copper rod.
yeah, then, like, say with an integrated circuit chip, like, say for instance, like something that's in your laptop or you're in your computer or something,
Yeah.
like, to get something down to that finite technology, there's so much more machinery and processes and
Oh
all
yeah.
this kind of shit that you'd have to make and
Once you
all
get
this
the
kind of stuff.
copper
It would,
down, that's good. What?
yeah,
The,
but it would, just because, like, we'd have to do it from fucking scratch. Still take us fucking
right.
decades and shit to do it longer than
Right.
our lifespan.
Right. But like I said, once you get copper down, you can pretty much speed run anything else. We found that that's the reason we were able to go from jet planes at the end of World War II to 20 years later being on the moon. Because
Mm.
we discovered copper was the best shit on earth. And we were able to refine it like pretty easily. Up to that point, we had kind of just written it off. Not a whole lot of things used wiring. But as a result of World War II, we had radios that were put into the home. Those were basically just copper and resistors with an oscillating crystal. I
Mm.
think quartz was used.
Yep.
And they just passed an electric charge through that. And how did you do that? Well, you just wind a bunch of copper around it.
Well, fuck, you can make a radio with just a crystal and a couple of bits of wire, like, out in the
Right,
fucking field. They used to actually have that in the handbook to do that in World War II, fucking as
right,
like an emergency wireless set.
right. Yeah. And a lot of watches at the time used crystals too. So you just take apart your
Mm.
watch and have like a really shitty little transmitter or a
Yeah.
receiver. At the very least, you'd have a shitty receiver. Um, Now transceivers were a little bit of a different beast. I don't remember what the exact componentry in that was, but I do know you needed a receiver, and then you needed to pass the receiver to a transmitter component, and the transmitter component is a completely different beast than the receiver. But that being said, like I said, once you get copper, you can pretty much speed run basically anything. If it's just two people, yeah, it'll take decades. If it's a lot
Well,
of people,
well, another thing that'd be fucking important too is, and this is another massive step in the industrial age, is in fact
mhm,
the lathe.
it is,
Um,
yeah.
Once they figured how to basically machine the base of a lathe to to near perfect flatness, so as that you can get accurate fucking replication and shit like that. That's where mass production came into it, and it's, a lot of people don't sort of understand that it was only shortly before World War I that lathes were actually introduced in, like, an industrial
Well, that's
scale.
not. I wouldn't say that's entirely true because we've been using lathes since the Middle Ages.
Yeah, but this is more on an industrial scale, to the point where
Right.
standardization became a thing. Because, like, before World
Yeah.
War One, typically, if you had a machine built, it was built by fucking hand. It was bespoke, and, like, the screws and nuts and bolts and all that kind of shit were all fucking handmade, hand fitted, and all this. And you couldn't just go
Right.
down to, like, your hardware store and just buy a bunch of, like, M16 coarse thread fucking
Right.
bloody head
Yeah. It was
stunts or
all a
something like that.
blacksmith doing. Yeah, it was all a blacksmith doing all of the work. Um, and basically it was copper, the rotary motor, or the not the rotary motor, the well, I mean it is rotary, but the the fuck's it called? Not the brushless motor, because the brushless motor didn't come around for another couple decades. Um, but yeah, a motor of some sort.
Commutator.
That's it. Thank you.
Fucking but yeah, like, a lot of people sort of don't realize too that, like, going into World War I, like, even like things like military rifles and shit were like hand fitted and stuff like that. So, like, if your rifle broke, you couldn't just like with say a 303 Lee Enfield or something like that. And this is sort of like disproving what I'm saying, because the 303 Lee Enfield was a service rifle well before World War One. But fucking basically most rifles, like, you know, if fucking something broke on it, it had to go back to an armorer to actually machine fit the part back to that specific rifle. You couldn't just pull the bolt out of a fucking one rifle and put it in the next one. And it was
and now armorers are just glorified librarians.
Yeah, and once things got to a point where standardization was a thing, well, now you can just churn out 1,000 of the same fucking thing, and fucking, you know, all parts are interchangeable and all this kind of stuff, and yeah, that allowed for mass production, and yeah, and that's only a fucking recent thing in relativity to like how long we've been on the planet.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if you're going to compare to how long the planet's been around and how long we've been around for like an hour compared to like the planet's time.
Well, actually, they've
And
worked it out. If you boiled down the Earth's existence into a 24-hour period, we occupy like the last 3 seconds.
yeah, and even then, like out of that last 3 seconds, like a fraction of a second was all of our current advancements, all of our major advancements.
Yeah.
And that's a fraction of a second of Earth time, like of the Earth's age. Yeah.
And that's the thing I don't understand. How, like, all that fucking time, and we've only just got our shit together now.
Well, I think largely it was because of the fact that we had to survive. And survival became a little less of a chore as we improved medicine and as we improved our technology advancements. And let's face it, childbirth used to be up until I think the 1960s, the 1950s, somewhere around there. Childbirth was still relatively like dangerous. Like it was still relatively dangerous up to like between the 1940s and the 1960s, we'll call it, just for the sake of, you know, getting a nice round number there.
And that's why you used to have to pump out fucking double kids, because half of them would fucking cark it before they hit fucking adulthood.
Yeah. And now, you know, it's like
fucking Camel Toe still thinks it's the 1920s. You can't have children because you'll probably bloody die. Oh, go get fucked, you stupid bitch.
I just that whole level of fear mongering is just go fuck yourself, because at that point you're fear mongering. Like you can't be the party. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tirade here. You cannot be the party of trust the science, which let's for a moment table the fact that you can't inherently trust the science, because what science are you talking about? Because there are different sciences, there's different disciplines, and each discipline study a different field, and each field has its own set of mathematics that does that calculates for certain things. So which science are we talking about? And B, you further can't trust the science, quote unquote, because we're always learning shit on a day-to-day basis when it comes to the macro as well as the micro. Like, you can't be that party of trust the science. We're going to table the whole argument of why you can't trust science to begin with. I mean, you can, right, to an extent. There are certainly known variables, but you can't inherently just go, I'm just going to trust it blindly. No, it's not a religion, you dumb piece of shit.
Yeah, there's the general consensus at the time, and then there's new evidence. And the point is, if the new evidence counteracts the general consensus, then the general consensus needs to change to the new evidence if it's repeatable, predictable, and testable.
Correct. So we're going to table for a moment the fact that you can't, even though we didn't really table you can't trust the science and why. You can't be the party of trust the science if you're going to ignore the medical sciences that have advanced medicine, right? Because those sciences are different than the medicine behind it over the last, say, 60, 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have it both ways, and you certainly can't have it both ways when you're telling everyone. I'm going to get us in trouble here.
Oh, I'm going to get us in trouble in a sec.
All right, let me get us in trouble first,
Yeah.
and then you can get us in trouble, and then I can go get food. You can't also tell everyone to put a mask on because it'll protect everyone else from your germs, while simultaneously telling everyone that they can take their mask off when they're eating in front of a bunch of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, great example is my doctor, Mongo. And this is part of the reason why I call him Mongo. Mongo like candy. Fucking, so, right, the general consensus was, and yeah, here we go, we're bringing up the fucking Wu flu jab, fucking, the general consensus was it was fucking safe. But now there's all these reports coming out of people getting fucking cancers that are so fucking rampant that
super
fucking
cancers.
Yeah, oncologists can't even fucking start to treat it because it happens that bloody quickly and it's so fucking devastating. Now we do know enough, and I personally do know 2 different ways that the jab fucking actually causes this, and it's fucking with T cells, and then there's affecting the P54 gene on a genetic scale.
Yep.
But you think my fucking idiot doctor would actually fucking look into it? He flatly fucking refuses to even entertain the fucking thought that there is something wrong with it. Won't even fucking so much as even consider the fucking evidence or anything like that. I've even fucking explained it to him, and obviously it's fucking beyond him being just a general practitioner and not a polymath. But fucking, it's frustrating because I'm saying, like, no, dude, you need to fucking have a look at this. This is how it's fucking done. And he's just flatly fucking refusing to fucking do it.
Yeah. You can't play with DNA on a cellular level, or you can't play with someone's body on a cellular level and not expect the DNA to revolt.
So the science is now fucking proving that, like, yes, in fact, fucking this is our generation's version of thalidomide. But you've got fucking dickhead doctors like mine who just fucking seem to think that, like, I'm a conspiratard and all this. Is like, dickhead, look at my first 400 fucking videos on bloody YouTube. I'm clearly not a conspiratard, you fucking muppet. So yeah, you know, there's trust the bloody science, but there's also like, fucking dude, you need to have a fucking look into it. Because general consensus changes.
It does. With that, we want to thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll be back again next weekend for some more bullshit and getting in trouble with YouTube even more. Maybe Farty will say something about the Indians. Who knows?
Which one's the or the yes sir, please come again?
Oh man.
He takes a dirty sheet on the street.
Or the ones that go vroom vroom, you know, the motorcycles. You didn't see that one coming, did you? So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get the fuck out of here. Bye.